It's Pete Cohen here. It is the 1st of the 1st, 2018, and you join me for episode 2 in the series of Your Best Year Yet. The first in the series, we looked at turning a resolution into a revolution, and today I'm going to be showing you how to turn your desperation into your inspiration. But before we get stuck into the show, I want to ask you a question, because today's show is brought to you by Mi365 Elite. So what is Mi365 Elite? Well, it's your opportunity for literally £1 a day in old money, whatever that means. I don't know what £1 is in a dollar, but it's £1. Go and Google it and find out what a pound actually is. But for £1 every day, you can get coached by me. Have world-class coaching every day, 365 days a year. Be a part of an incredible community of like-minded people all over the world who are striving to create the life that they want, and also have access to some of the greatest material that I've ever put together. I believe I was put on this earth to inspire you to achieve the life that you want to lead. So whether you want to be more confident, whether you want to be happier, whether you want to lose weight, whether you want to be financially free, whether you want to be more productive, more successful, whatever it is for you, Mi365 Elite is your opportunity to really go to work on yourself. We believe that everybody needs coaching. The word coach literally means to take someone from where they are to where they want to be. And for most people, they never really get very far. They go round in circles, and they need help to inspire them, to guide them, and coach them every step of the way. So head over to mi365.me/elite. That's mi365.me/elite. And just find out what £1 a day could do for you to help you create the life of your dreams. So let's get stuck into the show. Today, we're looking at how to turn your desperation to your inspiration. Now, you might be saying, Pete, I'm not that desperate, which is, I heard that expression a lot when I was a kid. Pete, I ain't that desperate. I ain't going to do that. But I'm not talking about the fact. Let me put it to you like this. Look, there are so many people today that are deciding to do something, but they're not really deciding. They have made a choice, I should say. They've made a choice. You know what? I'm going to choose to give up smoking. I'm going to choose to go to the gym. And we talked about this yesterday, that they're just not desperate enough, or they're just not inspired enough. And that's why 92% of people who start New Year's resolutions won't get very far. They will give up even before they started, because they've just decided to do something. And we mentioned this in the first in this series of 4 podcasts on Your Best Year Yet. We talked about the difference between a resolution and a revolution. A resolution is where you decide to do one thing against another, or you decide to do one thing in opposition to something else. And it's because you're just doing that. And what happens is, just like Nike, just do it. They recognize that you could just go for a walk, or you could just watch TV all day. That these are the decisions that we make every single day, but they're not real decisions. They are choices. And this is one of the biggest differences between a resolution and a revolution. A revolution is a complete change in the way that you think. It's when you're deciding to go out with the old and in with the new, and to go on a revolution, your own personal revolution, to be the very, very best that you can be. Now, those of you that are listening to this on the podcast, you can't actually see I'm holding a plastic sword, but this is kind of what it needs for us to take out our own sword, if you like, our own capabilities, our own real power that we all have. You have capabilities. It's kind of, you hear people saying this, oh, you're not living up to your full potential. And I'm not a big fan of saying that, but I actually do believe there's more to you than meets the eye. And one of the reasons people struggle is because they're not aiming towards something. So let's talk about desperation and inspiration. Having helped people for a long time, many years of helping people from all different walks of life, it's absolutely fascinating to me to see, when do we get to see the best in human beings? Now, most people come and see me when they've got a problem. And sometimes they've gone to see other people, because I'm not always the most conventional of people. All I'm interested in is helping people get from where they are to where they want to be in the quickest possible time, find solutions. So often people have maybe gone to find another approach before they found themselves, coming to me. And often they're desperate. They have had enough of where they are. Now, what about you? Have you really had enough of where you are? You see, when we get to really see the best in people in this day and age is when our backs are against the wall, when something horrible happens. In 2017, there were many horrible disasters that happened, whether it was the fire in the flats in London, whether it was the bombing in Manchester, the attacks on London Bridge. And it's when you often get to see the best of people. People just come out and go, what can I do? How can I help? But then what seems to happen is people just go back to what they were doing before. And if you're comfortable doing what you were doing before, then that's fine. You see, what I'd love you to do is ask yourself the question, how comfortable are you? How comfortable are you with your body, your health, your well-being? How comfortable are you with your finances? Are you like so many people that, you're in debt, but you can manage that debt just about? What about the relationships you have with your friends, your family? What about your work and the progression of your work? Chances are you are comfortably uncomfortable. You're just not uncomfortable enough. And this is where many of you today will be deciding, I'm not comfortable. I've eaten more than I need to. Today is a new start. I'm going to go for it. And with the best intentions, intentions aren't a bad thing, but you're just deciding to do a resolution. And you probably know that history is going to repeat itself unless you decide to do something different, which is to turn and use your desperation to get inspired. Now, what's the difference? What is the difference? Well, they're both forms of energy, if you like. Desperation is often we want to move away from something. So maybe you're overweight and you desperately want to lose some weight, but your biggest challenge is once you've lost a few pounds, you just might get a little bit comfortable again. You're not where you want to be, but you're just comfortable. And then what do most people do? They just go back to what they were doing before, or obstacles come along and they weren't expecting something to happen and it knocks them off their feet. And we'll be looking at how to deal with obstacles in the third of these 4 podcasts that we're giving to you to help you have an incredible year. You see, I will be here at the end of next year, and I will be here at the end of the year after that, delivering podcasts, showing up every day. Why? Why am I doing that? Well, I am inspired to do something. You see, inspiration is when you're breathing life into something that you can see is going to grow. It's going to go somewhere. You see, you and I, we have an ancient brain, and our brains aren't really very good at naturally thinking into the future. So if I said, where will you be in a year's time? Where will you be in 5 years' time? Where will you be in 20 years' time? Our brains find that quite difficult to do. But you see, for me, I know where I'm going. I can see it so clearly that I am inspired to do that even when the going gets tough, even when things don't work, even when maybe I feel like giving up. You see, when you're on a revolution means if you fall down, you can't wait to get back up, to dust yourself up, to move forwards again. But when you're on a resolution, you've fallen over and you didn't choose to fall over, and you think, well, I'd just rather go back to what I was doing before because that is familiar to me and it doesn't hurt. What hurts instructs. And as we move forwards on this journey together, we have to take a new approach. That's what a revolution is. A revolution in the way that you think and the way that you act. And I know this sounds big and I know it sounds grandiose, but what we'll do with the other 2 podcasts is help you to understand, well, how do you bring that back to today? What is it that you can do every single day consistently that moves you forwards regardless of what happens? You see, most of us really don't use this incredible brain that we have to think about where it is that we want to go. So let me ask you this. You might want to take some time to think about some things that you want to achieve this year. And I would ask you to think about what's the most wildly important thing. What's the one thing that if you really focus on this year, you feel lots of other things will fall into place. I like to look at goals and put them into 3 categories. So the first one is definitely energy, which all relates to health and well-being. Then there's family, my family, me being a wife, me being a son, me being a friend, me being an uncle, a brother, all of these things, and actually setting some goals around that. And then the last one is service or work, and setting some goals around all of those things that I would encourage you to think about. In 1 year's time, where would you like to be with your energy? How would you like to look? How would you like to feel? What would you like to look at if you were looking at yourself? For me, the word for this year is warrior. I can see myself in 12 months' time in better shape than I am now, mentally, physically. At the end of this year, I want to be a better husband. I will be. I want to be a better uncle to my 3 nieces. I can see this. And I know that there are simple things that I can do every single day. And then of service, which is my work. We want to inspire 100 million people around the world to live the life that they want, to guide people in the writing, because we are authors in our own life every single day, and to tap into the power that they have. We want to attract 100 million people, inspire them. But in 1 year's time, I can see that we've impacted another 5,000 people. I'm using my imagination. Now, just imagine this. Imagine I could transport you from where you are and take you into 365 days and show you yourself in better shape, mentally, physically, emotionally. Imagine you could just see that for a moment. Surely if you could see it and really get a sense of what that would be like, would you not be compelled to move towards it? You say, well, I don't know that's possible. Look, nothing was once upon a time possible. It was just possible in someone else's head. The revolutionaries of our time that said, no, enough's enough. We need to create something better than what we have today. And that's really where things start to get a little bit even more interesting as I ask you to think about what you want to create. You see, when you think about yourself in 365 days, you could create that. Rather than waking up tomorrow, having made a choice to do something, but as soon as something happens that you didn't expect, you react to that in a way that you stopped creating. This is deeply profound stuff, and it's fascinating to see just how few people are very clear as to where it is that they're going. Your inspiration, as I said earlier, is your ability to breathe life into yourself and what you're doing. And then breaking it down to think, what is it that I could do today? What's the one thing that I can do today? We call them Mi365 mornings, knowing that the morning is really the most important part of the day to decide what foot you're going to step first to create your day. For me, maybe I'm a bit crazy, but actually my day starts off the night before, making sure that I get a good night's sleep. If I don't get a good night's sleep, it can make the next day a little bit more challenging. But for me, it's getting up really early and it's getting on with a few daily rituals that move me in the direction that I want to go. And for some people, this might seem a bit boring, but I tell you, if you decide to make this the year where you invest in doing those little things every single day that confidently move you in the direction that you want to go, you get to reap what you sow. And sowing and sowing and sowing every day. Sometimes you don't even realize the great changes that you're making underneath. But over time, you'll be able to look back and go, I did that. I did that. When the going gets tough, that's where I want you to show up. Many of you will be listening to this, and by the time you listen to it, maybe you've already given up on your resolution. We don't want a resolution. We want a revolution. And when the going gets tough, that's the opportunity for you to learn something from what happens and get stronger and keep moving forwards. In one of the Rocky films, it said, it ain't how hard you hit, it's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forwards. Life isn't always easy. Life isn't always the way it is in fairy tales, but it is awesome. And you have the ability right here, right now, today, to turn your desperation into your inspiration. So let's finish this up on this. Take a moment, not only think about where you want to be in 365 days, but take a moment to think about what would happen if you did nothing. Just imagine you decided to give up on anything that you were deciding to work towards. Almost gave up on yourself to a certain extent. And imagine in a few weeks' time how you would look, how you would feel as you look at yourself in the mirror. And then imagine going 6 months into the future and seeing who you've become. Just reacting to life, giving up on your hopes and your dreams and your ambitions. What would your health be like? What would your energy be like? What would your family be like? And what about a year, going 1 year into the future? Look at who you've become. Look what's happened simply because you made a decision not to follow through. Now you might say, Pete, you're being a bit hard. You're being a bit tough. Well, hang on. This is what we do all the time. Most of us think about what is wrong and what is missing and what we haven't got. That's why we watch soap operas and all these programs, the news that focus on what's wrong and what's missing. And that's what we take in and that's what we put out into the world rather than, hang on a second, hang on. What you've just imagined, none of that's happened. What would it be like if you decided today, you know what, it's time for a revolution. And you decided to dig deeper than you've ever dug before. And you've really decided to go to work on yourself because when you decide, you cut off. That's what the word decision means. It comes from the French word to décider. I'm cutting off. This is what I'm doing. This is what I'm moving forwards. This is what I do every single day. Every day, without fail. It's your number one self-care habits, the things that if you do over time, you will reap massive rewards. You have a choice today and make today a significant choice that you make in your life. Mark the date. I'm recording this on the 1st of the 1st, 2018. The day that you're watching this, what action are you going to take on the back of this? See, what you do now, 5 minutes after listening to this, you've got an opportunity to go and talk to a few people and tell them, listen, this is what I'm going to do. Write it down. Get inspired. Go and do something that moves your life in the direction that you want to go. Now listen, if you've enjoyed this podcast, feel free to make a comment. If you're listening to this on iTunes, we are still, after a year, we are in the top 10 of the most news and noteworthy podcasts around the world. If you've enjoyed it, make a comment. If you're watching this on our website, please leave a comment, share it, let other people know. You never know. Someone might just listen to this and it totally changes the way they look at things. Because you won't change if I'm telling you what to do. There's a rebel in you. But you will change when your perspective changes. And just maybe by listening to this podcast today, it's giving you the opportunity to look at things differently and go, you know what, I've never thought of it like that before. But just because you thought of it, let's not go and be librarians. And that's good information, I understand it. Let's become doers. Let's become Mi365ers, people who get on and create the life they want. Not by chance, but by design. Thank you for watching, listening, and we'll see you for podcast number 3 in these series of 4, Your Best Year Yet. Take care. Much love to all. Bye-bye.